YouTube, what is up? Northeast Ohio here for the little week in review, week that was, little market update, Sunday morning nonsense. Before we get into it, like, comment, sub, YouTube nonsense down below. For those of you that haven't yet, Star Stock is running the $10 referral code program thing. I do highly recommend Star Stock. It is a lot of fun. If you put in my user ID, which is NEOSportscards, I'll link to it, or not link to it, but put it in the description down below, and deposit $10. You get $10. I get $10. It's win-win. Free $10. And I might do some more Star Stock stuff as we get into the season, because that's where it really shines. Instantly buying and trading and selling cards without having to ship anything and not have to worry about eBay returns. Really nice. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty. Smash the like button. Did you hit it? Cool. All right, now let's get into the nitty gritty. What's been going on last week? So we're mostly going to be back half, 3/4 of this will be basketball. Front quarter of this, we're going to talk a little football really quick because Prism came out in hobby box form this week. It's been filtering through retail, etc., and beginning to hit shelves. And I will tell you what, I think Prism hobby boxes were $1,000. They are, I don't think this is a hot take. Most people seem to agree with this. They are a freaking ripoff for $1K for a hobby box of Prism football. There's a couple things going on here. One, the checklist is freaking massive. Two, and this, I'm going to like partially blame them and kind of cut them some slack at the same time because of the pandemic. But like, you can't, I don't know, a lot of the defensive players, which their cards don't have the greatest value, but when you're paying $1K for a hobby box, just looks bad. A lot of the defensive players and some of the random rookies are still in their college uniforms, are in like half tight tank tops with tight shorts on, running combine drills. Like, seriously? What the hell? I hope to God this is not a precursor for what Prism basketball looks like. I would strongly recommend not buying a hobby box of Prism to rip. I rarely talk about ripping wax as a good idea to begin with. I think this is one of the worst possible products you can buy and rip. There are only really, other than some crazy parallels, there's only 3 really good players. It's Herbert, Burrow, and Tua, which I guess could be said a lot about a lot of things, but the checklist is so big. I think it's 400 cards for a base level checklist, which just seems massive when you're just trying to hit 3 players. Sure, maybe you get lucky and you hit a Herbert numbered card or whatever, but I don't know, man. It just seems like not a good idea. I would almost much rather pay $60 a piece for a couple blaster boxes or whatever they're going for now, than rip one of these hobby boxes. Yeah, it's where the best stuff comes out of. Like, I get that, but $1K for a football product is crazy. Basically what we're seeing is because of the market inflation from the basketball market, it's trickling into, not trickle, it poured into the football market. And I don't know that the football market can sustain these kinds of prices. The football market and basketball market are apples and oranges. They are not the same thing. NBA has a global market. Football does not. It is completely US based. Plus the injury concerns, really only quarterbacks matter, etc., etc. Just makes it really rough. So market movers, links in the description down below, and a coupon code for that as well for 30% off your first, or 20% off your first payment. Let's dig into that. They have added Prism, just the key quarterbacks for right now. So we have Herbert, Burrow, Tua, and they put in Jalen Hurts. They'll get to adding more players, but they got fast track these to get them in there, since they're honestly the ones that matter outside, maybe Justin Jefferson and Calais Claypool and 1 or 2 running backs. It's, it is what it is. So they put these in, they've been in for about 10 days. They have 10 days worth of sales data. on these, which is pretty close to when singles started hitting eBay. Um, and you could see I pulled up a 14-day chart here. It's a little less than that. I think it goes back, like I said, about 10 days. So since the initial load of Prism on the eBay, most of the stuff was going down except for Jalen Hurts because there was rumors of him potentially getting more snaps. And his prices started lower and actually had news that helped them go up a little bit. And Wentz's also just looked like garbage. So you see tons of red here, and you're like, well, what the hell? Herbert's like the hottest player that there is in the NFL. This is completely normal. What happens is when these singles hit the market, they start out extremely high for the very first ones that hit. Then the prices basically crater until they level out at their true price. This usually takes a couple of weeks. Now, so we're about 10 days into this. I'd say by this video next week, we may see it start to level out. Obviously, play in between could influence this a little bit as well. Burrow also started lower because this product basically hit eBay right as he tore his knee. So that's had some impact as well. But I expect these guys to come back down even a little bit more. And this is also a testament to if you are fortunate enough to get a new release product like the day it comes out, and you could be one of the first people to list cards, especially if it's someone that you don't think is gradable. Like a running back, like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire or something like that. But this would really filter out to any sport almost. In a lot of cases, unless it's not the cream of the absolute crop, you're almost always better off to sell raw immediately because you get to set the market. Throw that thing up on an auction and just let that sucker rip. And in a case like Prism, like when Prism NBA comes out, if I pulled a LaMelo Ball and he's played, so-so or whatever the first couple or the first few months of the season, I would put that thing on a 24-hour auction and just let that sucker ride. Because by the time you get it back from grading, in a lot of cases, especially the more edge case stuff, it's going to sell for the same amount in a PSA 10 as what you could have sold it for raw the day that it came out. On this stuff, when it first hits, and this is, like I said, you got to be like one of the first people to get it up there. It almost doesn't make sense to grade some of that stuff unless you just pull an absolute monster. And you can see that by this chart. Herbert, his very first couple eBay sales were almost $300. He's all the way down to 150, and I expect this to continue to fall. For comparison's sake, we got Burrow at 90, Tua at 70, and Hurts at 30 for the non-silver bases. For comparison's sake, let's look at what Kyler Murray's doing right now. His base Prism is about $90, and his base Prism Silver, his ungraded silver is $350, and these are both raw. So $350 for a silver, $90 for a base. Let's flip back over here. Herbert is $160 for a base and $900 for a silver. Come on, guys. I like Herbert. He's cool. He's not Kyler Murray, I don't think. Maybe he is. I don't know. But I'd be a little worried about that one. So yeah, I expect this stuff to continue to come down. I think these prices are super inflated, which once again is kind of normal. But $900 for a silver Prism Herbert, if I pulled that on day one, I would consider selling that raw versus grading it. That's just me. When you compare it to what guys just from last year are going for. And Kyler's looked good. He's had some ups and downs this season, but that was only a year ago. So, but the main takeaway here is do not pay $1K for a hobby box to rip. Now, paying $1K for a hobby box to sit on the shelf and not touch, different ball game. But to rip, don't do it. Please don't do it. All right, let's get into basketball. The meat and potatoes of our content. Here I have the price movements by card chart for the last 7 days. And I have it sorted by number of sales. And once again, this is only cards that are loaded into market movers, which is a lot of them. It's not every single card, but it's pretty much everything popular that you can think of. And the reason I like to do this every once in a while is because it kind of tells you who is hot in the market, regardless of percentage change. It's just a straight, here's who's getting bought and sold the most, which I always find interesting. So number one on the list, and I was actually a little surprised by this because it's number one by a wide margin, is Tyler Hero. His base Prism Raw, 157 sales in the last 7 days, and it's also up 30% on that. Right behind that, you see a Morant Prism, Michael Porter Jr. Prism, John Morant Prism PSA 9, Zion Prism PSA 10, Morant Mosaic, Morant Prism PSA 10, Kobe 97 Tops, and a Trae Young Prism PSA 9 are the top of that chart there, about the top 8 or 9 cards or so. So a lot of Morant, a lot of some Zion, some Tyler. Tyler being number one is surprising. Now, if you added these up and took like raw plus graded, Morant's actually probably number one, even above Zion. And I think that's mostly because people are, I think, holding Zion more to sell in season. Like a lot of people are holding their breath on Zion to see what happens. They don't want to, they're worried that he could go crazy and they're going to miss out on huge price spikes on Zion because a lot of people got burned by that last year. So we'll see what happens, but I just thought that was interesting. The list of the most popular players in regards to number of cards sold in the last 7 days. If I scroll down here a little bit more, you see some more Zion, a lot of Raws, Optic based Raw, Mosaic based Raw, Prism based Raw, and just some notable things on the percentages up and down. I have some individual cards pulled up here. But we continue to see most guys are trending in the right direction, at least the ones that are popular on the top of this chart. You see a little bit of red here, but nothing too crazy. It does look like Trae Young has capped for the moment. His PSA 10 and his PSA 9 are both down 5 and 10% respectively. And they both, the PSA 10 got near to $700. And I'm guessing it's just to the point now where people bought in so low. And we kind of talked about this on my players to sell before the season starts. And we touched, Trey didn't officially make the list, but we touched on him as an honorable mention. In that, depending on where you got in on him at, by the time his card gets to $700, you could have made massive amounts of profit if you bought last spring or summer when that card was 150 to 200 bucks. So I think what's happening is the people that bought back pre-summer that have made 500 bucks on this card are starting to say, you know what? I'm going to take this and lock it in case something happens to him in season, doesn't live up to expectations. Maybe his numbers are a little bit lower. Because there's more mouths to feed there. Maybe the Hawks disappoint, whatever the case might be. Maybe the whole market comes tumbling down. They're just locking in their profits and taking it, and I don't blame them for that. That's what I talk about all the time, is move off some of this stuff to protect yourself. Don't go into the season holding everything. And once again, that's why I preach buying multiples of cards if you can. Let's get into some individual cards. So the big NBA news of the week was the Westbrook trade, and that has had some trickle-down effect to some Wizards. First up, we have Bradley Beal. His pop counts are extremely low. Once again, this is going back 7 days because it's 2012 Prism. You could see his PSA 10 only has 384. His PSA 9 only has 255. On the sales counts on these over the last 7 days is low, 5, 4, and 9. But what you can see is everything is up. His raw is up 75%. His PSA 9 is up 50%. And his PSA 10 is up 15%. So a lot of good Bradley Beal buzz off the Westbrook move. Regardless what you think about Westbrook, they are probably a better team than having broken down John Wall as the starting point guard on that squad. And this probably elevates the Wizards back in the contention for, at minimum, the play-in tournament. If not an actual, well, even the 7 and 8 seed or the play-in tournament now. But they're probably a lock for a play-in team, along with the Hawks and the Magic, and those types of teams. So we'll see what happens, but he is not the only one. If I have these in the right order, and I don't, curse me. Rui was the other one that saw a nice little bump from this. The interesting thing here is, and I know we talk about this all the time, where Prism leads the way and then everything else follows. Well, the true leader in that, and I don't talk about them a lot on the channel because in a lot of cases the price points are so high, a lot of people aren't buying those cards. It's just you're talking to an extremely niche market when you're talking about Lucas Silvers and Tatum Silvers, when you're getting into multiple thousands of dollars. However, Silvers tend to lead the pack even more so than the Prism PSA 10 base. And I think we might be seeing that here. Whereas since this trade happened, Rui's PSA 10 Silver Prism is up 20%, but his base Prism has not moved yet. It's basically stayed flat. So if you're big on Rui, I think he's fine. I'm not looking to buy him, but I am holding what I currently have of him. If you're looking to get into some Rui, there might be a little bonus room there that hasn't trickled down yet to the rest of his stuff that could be coming. So I just found that interesting that Rui's Silver Prism was up 20%, but his base Prism had yet to move. And honestly, not to sound like an advertisement, but I know I talk about it all the time. You need something that shows you this kind of stuff because this is not easy to see if you're just randomly tracking sales on 130 point in a spreadsheet or something, unless you're really following it closely. And if you have that kind of time on your hands, God bless you, because I sure as heck don't. But something like the various tools that are out there, this is where they become helpful and help you find edges. And data is now, and has been, the edge in the sports card world, by far, in any walk of life, really. So a couple more cards to talk about really quick, and then we will get out of here. In terms of movers and shakers on the week, Tatum is up 10%, not a huge jump, but we are slowly seeing him creep up to the $800 level. He's at $785 right now. And we can easily see him popping through 800 very soon. He's been basically slow and steady, 5 to 10% every week for the last month to month and a half, since mid-October, really. Since he hit his bottom, he has just been slow and steady. Celtics really haven't had a ton of news to shake them one way or the other. So he's just been a nice, slow, steady build up from his low there in late October when most of the market was at its bottom. And then last but not least, we're going to touch on Giannis a little bit. Once again, just some interesting things here. His PSA 10 on the week is up 20%, but his 9 and his BGS 9.5 have not moved. So a little higher end card here, but for those of you guys looking to maybe get in on some last minute Giannis before some extension news comes down or does not come down, this might be a not bad time to grab a PSA 9 or a BGS 9.5. And I honestly don't know if he extends. I actually think it hurts his long-term value because I honestly do not believe they are currently compromised good enough to win an NBA title. I think they're probably the favorites in the East, but I still think they're short of beating most of the Western Conference elite. I could be wrong. And if he re-ups there, I don't see a lot of paths to them getting a lot better with the Drew Holiday trade. I think that roster is what it is, and they can add some pieces around the edges. But I think for his overall title odds in the next 3 to 5 years, him re-upping there is not great. If he declines to sign the extension, he could always sign it in the summer still. But I really feel like him going to another team is the path to Giannis titles. Sorry, Bucks fans. As a Cavs fan that had Early LeBron on his team. I understand the plight that you are all in. But Giannis leaving, I think, is best for his title chances. Whether he goes to Dallas to team up with Luka or Miami to enter into their system. Though with them doing the Bam extension, it does limit their options in regards to bringing Giannis in. We'll see. So I don't know if the extension news helps or hurts his value in general. Personally, I think him re-upping is bad for title chances. That's just my opinion. What the hell do I know? That's all we got for today. Next video will probably be Tuesday-ish. And it's going to be on some budget guys. Like under $20. Actually, probably under $15. Some last minute budget bargain bin dudes that we could pick up prior to this season starting. I may record that early to get that up and ready in the shoot. Maybe I'll put that out Monday. We'll see. See how the weekend goes. But that's all I got for you guys. We will see you guys on the next one. And